The UFC is back on pay-per-view this Saturday night, and we are back with a brand new episode of Combat Coach, your weekly MMA sports betting show of record. I am the coach, and he is the best MMA handicapper in the business, Mr. Ian Parker. How are you this week, sir?
I'm good, Coach. Ready to rock and roll. Big pay-per-view this weekend, and it is time to get this winning streak back on track. I'm ready.
Yeah, we had a couple of rough weeks, but we tell people all the time that's going to happen when you do it every single week and every single day. So money management, and listen to the experts and listen to the information. Here on this show, we break down every single fight on the card. 13 fights as of right now, our schedule. We know after last week, 13 fights may not go off, but that's what's scheduled for right now. Our best bets on the early edge, powered by SportsLine, our other big show that we do. Those are our best bets there. Here is where we break down, and Ian tells you exactly what he thinks is going to happen in each and every fight. So know the distinction between the two. All right, Toyota Center. It's going to be rocking. Derek Lewis, it's his hometown. He's from there. Main event against Cyril Gane. I'm fired up for this. But we've got a lot of fights to get through. So let's go. First, early prelims kickoff at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Johnny Munoz, a minus 260 favorite over Jamie Simmons, plus 210 coming back. Featherweights. The total over 2.5, minus 105. The under is minus 125. What do you like?
I like Munoz Jr. here. I just think his submission game might be too much for Simmons. 260 too high to lay it straight. So if you want to throw him in a parlay early on, I'm good with that.
All right, very good. Second fight, Victoria Leonardo, plus 100. Taking on Melissa Gatto, minus 120. The total over 2.5, minus 115. The same coming back under 2.5. This is a women's flyweight matchup. What do you like?
Man, this one's tough. To me, this is more of a coin flip. So as we say, sometimes these are the best ones to stay away from. But if you feel like you have to bet every single fight, Melissa Gatto looks like she's in the best shape we've ever seen her. So I'll lean that way. But if you could stay away and be patient, stay away from this one.
That's always the hardest thing for me to do. And you know this because I text you all the time. I'm just like, man, what do we got? Give me something on this next fight because I just love it so much. I really, really do. All right, fight number 3. Miles Johns, minus 210 favorite, bantamweight, taking on Anderson Dos Santos, a very famous last name in the world of MMA, plus 175. Underdog, the over 2.5, minus 185. The under coming back at plus 155. What do you like?
I like Miles Johns here. I just think he is better everywhere. As long as he can stay away from that guillotine of Dos Santos, he should be able to get it done. Minus 210, I would like him in a parlay.
By the way, did I mention we always do the show in 20 minutes or less? You don't have to give us a lot of time. All these other shows do an hour, hour and a half, 20 minutes or less. We get through all 13 fights. All right, let's go to Mr. Cape. Minus 195, taking on O'Day Osborne, plus 165. The total over 2.5, minus 130. The under coming back at plus 100. These are flyweights. What do you like?
This one's a tough one. Manel Cape, outside the organization, a lot of hype behind him. Since he's been in the UFC, he's dropped to 2, and he's not really the same guy that we saw in these other organizations. I think there is value in Osborne at plus 165. I think there's a path to victory here. Pressure Cape. Cape waits too long to fight. We talked about this. 3 rounds. You can't be so hesitant. He's way too hesitant. Osborne dropping to this weight class at plus 165. I'm going to lean that way, Coach.
Yeah, there's so many fighters right now that feel like their coaches are preaching patience way too much. And in a 3-round fight, you've got to be a little bit on the offensive or a lot of it on the offensive. And certainly, if you want one of these bonuses that every fighter talks about all the time, you can't do it laying back. You've got to be aggressive and spectacular. Okay, let's move on to the prelim card. And the first one, we've got a women's matchup. I call her KK, minus 130, taking on Jessica Penne, plus 110. Straw weights over 2.5, minus 390. So the books feel like this one's going to go the distance. The under coming back at plus 315. What do you like?
KK, as you call her, and I know that's much easier than saying Carolina Kovalchevich. Listen, she's lost 5 in a row, but if ever to get back on a winning streak, this matchup plays completely in her favor. Jessica Penne in her last fight did not win that fight. She got thrown like a shot put in the Olympics several times, and I don't know how the judges saw it in that way. She tends to like to really stand up or telegraph her shots. Carolina's got good jiu-jitsu. Her takedown defense against a fighter like Penne should be fine. She's the way better striker here. We're getting a gift, in my opinion, because she's lost 5 in a row to top-level competition. If she loses this, she should retire. I believe she wins. Give me Carolina at -130.
There are holes all the time that if you can find them in the number, and this is one of those times, you can really cash a ticket at a really good number, because a lot of times, if it's not a main event type of name, Ian, then the books will say, well, they did this the last 3 or they did this last 3, and that's when you can really find some value. And I believe you just targeted one right here. Moving on, light heavyweights on the men's side, Alonzo Menifield, -250, taking on Ed Herman. Ed Herman is still fighting, +200. The over in this one is 1.5, -115. The under coming back, the exact same number. What do you like?
Not only is he still fighting, he finds ways to win. This is a guy that just doesn't give up. He's kind of similar in a way to Darren Elkins, okay? He could take damage, but his cardio gets him through. And against Menifield, that is going to be the key. Look, we've seen Alonzo drop his last couple of fights. He's lost. You know, he came out as a huge prospect. Was knocking people out. And now we know what happens. If he doesn't get you out in the first 2 minutes, he gasses. If you put him on his back, he's kind of clueless. And he's with a good camp. Just sometimes when a guy loses like that and he doesn't bounce back, he just never bounces back. To me, this number is way too heavy. I don't mind taking a shot at Ed Herman here. Herman is not going to play into Menifield's game. He's going to close the distance, dirty box against the cage. And if he puts Menifield on his back, Herman has won plenty of fights by submission. I'm going to roll with Ed Herman here, +200. I think he's able to weather the storm of Menifield and get it done.
By the way, speaking of -200, a little educational time of the show. That's kind of our number. If you're brand new to MMA betting, our number is -200 that we look at and say we can bet that directly below it. And then anything above it, we kind of feel like, unless it's a really, really strong play, that we don't bet it straight. It's very different than NFL betting, baseball betting, and basketball betting. So welcome to all of you new viewers out there that are new to MMA betting. All right, moving on. Vince Morales, +100 as the underdog, taking on Draco Rodriguez, -120. These are bantamweights. I love these little guys. Over 2.5, -145. The under coming back at +115. What do you like?
So Morales is on a little bit of a losing streak. He's fighting for his spot. Rodriguez is coming off a loss where simply he just got caught, which is just the devastation of MMA sometimes, because he was winning that fight handily. I like Rodriguez here. I think he gets it done. He's just got to keep those hands up and not stick his chin out. Morales is not that same type of fighter. He's more of a submission guy. So I think Rodriguez will be safe. Let me get him at -120.
Oh, I love that -120 number. Okay, the last fight, the main event, so to speak, of the prelim card is Rafael Fiziev, -290. It's a big number. Taking on Bobby Green, +230. These are lightweights. The over 2.5, -170. The under coming back at +140. What do you like?
I like Fiziev here. I think this is a guy that we got to keep our eyes on. Very talented striker, is able to keep the fight standing. And if Bobby Green can't get this fight down, which I don't think he will, Fiziev will have whatever he wants to do on the feet. We saw it against Renato Moicano. -290, again, too heavy of a number, but he's one of my favorite plays on the card overall. I don't see how he loses here, to be honest. So I would throw him as an anchor, or as people like to call it, a lock. No such thing in this sport. Put Fiziev in a parlay at -290. You cannot not take him in this fight.
The couple things you will never hear on this show is, that's a lock.
Yeah.
Or my 5% bomb of the week. Will never happen here.
Nope.
Drives me bananas. Okay, let's move on to the main card at UFC 265. We're going to go Casey Kenny, -120. Song Yadong, one of my favorite names of all time, +100. These are bantamweights. They're quick. They're fast. Over 2.5, -220. Pretty steep. The under coming back at +180. What do you like?
I like Casey Kenny here. I think all he has to do, and I know that sounds very generic and like too good to be true, is follow what Kyler Phillips did. Song Yadong, yes, you are correct, Coach. Best name in the history of this sport. He sits too much on his back foot waiting to counter. He's got speed. He's got power. But when guys apply pressure, he doesn't throw back. And when he's on his back, he has trouble getting back up. Phillips controlled him the entire fight, all right? Casey Kenny has that style. He has that gas tank. We saw Yadong fade later on in the fight against Phillips, and I just think that Kenny has that exact same style to really put Song Yadong in another loss category. I like Casey Kenny here.
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, is that he gets behind so much in a fight, and it's very, very frustrating, especially if you play him. If you bet on him as you're watching, you say, let's do something, let's go.
Yep.
And he never seems to do it. So exactly what we were talking about there. All right, let's move on to our next fight on the main card. Tisha Torres, minus 135. This is a women's strawweight matchup, taking on Angela Hill, plus 115. For some reason, Ian, the public loves betting on Angela Hill. I can't figure it out. We've had her, 3 times since we started this show? Over 2.5, minus 445. The under coming back at plus 345. Not a ton of power on either side. So what do you see?
I like Tisha Torres here. And, I understand people we talk about like to throw money on dogs and they want to be the hero and hit that plus money. But sometimes you got to look at the styles and matchups here. Torres is going to be the faster, my professional opinion, more precise striker as well. She also is better in the clinch. Okay, yes, Hill can fight Thai style, but when I mean the clinch, I mean up against the cage, hip to hip, throwing the knees, keeping it tight, and even working the fight to the ground. When Hill's on her back, she's kind of like a fish out of water. And Torres, I think, also is physically more gifted. She's just stronger in general. We've seen her in her last 2 fights really put it together. And, Hill's fight over Yoder, she showed dominance, but we just saw Yoder fight, and look what happened. Yoder got dominated by someone that not even ranked. Tisha Torres, in my opinion, the time is now for her to get back to the top. She's been around a while. Mentally, she's in the best mental state she's ever been. And if that's the case, that's a very dangerous Tisha Torres. I will take her in this fight.
All right. And we love these numbers that are coming in this week that we can play straight, because we don't particularly like playing parlays. They're hard to hit. They're hard to put 2 or 3 things together. So I love that we've got a lot of numbers this week that we can play straight. All right. Let's move on to a guy who I really like how he has started to address his career, not just inside the octagon, but he's looking at it as being a commentator, an announcer, being in the studio. Very, very smart, very high fight IQ. And I'm talking about Michael Chiesa. But he's the underdog in this fight. He's the underdog here, plus 100. Taking on Vicente Luque, minus 120. These are welterweights, over 2.5, minus 145. The under coming back at plus 115. What do you see here?
Coach, you beat me to the punch. Fight IQ. That's what it's all about. And I think Chiesa has it way more than Vicente Luque does. Luque is someone who's been in a ton of wars, ton of battles, striking. He's fallen in love with it. He's good at it. But people forget he's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he never used it. It's like he's trying to prove a point that he could do everything instead of really getting these wins. And, yes, the Nico Price fight, beautiful win, but we knew what Nico Price would bring to the table. He would try and be sloppy and wild, and Luque was able to capitalize on that. Chiesa knows exactly who he is. He's not coming out here to swing and bang. He will use his long distance range to jab just to confuse Luque, but the minute he gets close, he is going to be a blanket on Luque. And as good as Luque is off his back, Chiesa, I just think, is physically going to be bigger, stronger, and he just knows how to control, and his gas tank does not end. Chiesa at plus 100, coach, is the play.
Yeah, and he went through kind of a lull in his career, let's not forget. But then I think he got everything right, and he's now back in a place that he feels like this is his time to head towards a title shot. But you got to win fights like this to get over that hump. So you love Michael Chiesa. All right, let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. And this is very, very interesting, this matchup. Jose Aldo didn't lose forever when he was a champion of the world. Then he gets knocked out in 13 seconds. I know, because I was there. Taking on Pedro Munoz, plus 100 bantamweight. So Jose now going down to 135. He always fought for a long time at 145. Now has made the decision to fight at 135. The over 2.5, minus 220. The under coming back at plus 180. What do you like?
I like Pedro here. I just think his style is going to kind of give Aldo a little bit of fits. Aldo in his last fight looked the best we've seen him in a while against Chito Vera. However, Vera is another guy that is a very slow starter and just couldn't catch up. Go watch those last 2 rounds. Vera was coming forward but covering up because he just knew what Aldo was going to bring. Aldo's got great leg kicks, hasn't used them as much, but the body is where he was going for on Vera because Vera was just standing there with his hands up, covering up. If you're not going to fight or throw, you're giving the guy every opportunity to swing for the fences and to hit the body, combinations, you name it. Pedro Munoz does not fight like that. From start to finish, he will be in Aldo's face. If he can get the fight to the ground, I believe he has the advantage as he's the better ground fighter, especially from top position. I like Munoz here at plus 100. His last fight against Rivera was very impressive. It was a good bounce back. He was nonstop. He was a little Tasmanian devil, and that's what he needs to do here. And I think he's going to get it done against Jose Aldo.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight a lot, and I love, again, that Munoz number. I keep saying it, but there's a lot of numbers that we love to see. All right, it's time for the main event, and Dana White and the UFC decided they would go back to Houston. They were just there a couple of months ago. It was rocking. It was the first full event back in April for the UFC, and they said, heck, if Derek Lewis is going to fight and we need to sell out and we need a crowd that's going to be fired up the entire night, why wouldn't you go back to the exact same arena? I love this play by the UFC. So Derek Lewis, he's the underdog here, though. Let's bring up the odds. And he's the underdog in his home arena, in his home city. Cyril Gane is the favorite. The over, depending, there you go, plus 280. Cyril Gane, minus 365. The over, 4.5, plus 150. The under coming back at minus 180. So I'm going to ask you for a couple of long shots here in a second, but just focus on this fight and quickly explain to the people at home what makes it such a cool matchup.
Look, you got a guy in Cyril Gane who was the training partner of Francis Ngannou for a long time. So you have that storyline. You got Derek Lewis, who's one of the more fun personalities in the sport, who has a win over Ngannou in the most boring fight in UFC history, but doing it in his hometown. So that's the narrative right here. And the winner is going to get a belt on them, however you want to classify it, however you want to categorize it with an asterisk. It's going to happen, and the winner will get Ngannou to try and unify the belts. So for me in this fight, it's interesting. They're trying to give Derek Lewis every opportunity to be a superstar, but styles make fights. People are going to say, why is Gane such a favorite here? He hasn't fought who Lewis has. Correct, but go look at how Gane fights. He doesn't get hit. He doesn't rush in. He's very composed. If you rush it against Lewis, you get knocked out, and that's how Lewis literally wins. That is it. And that's not a knock on Derek Lewis. He's a heavyweight who could swing hard and carries ridiculous power. But Gane is not the guy who's going to be baited by bonuses, by crowds. He's saying, I'm going to win by however I need to win, and I'm going to earn it to get to the top. And unfortunately, coach, in the heavyweight division where the depth is just not there, and the UFC is tired of recycling the same guys, having the same matchups, Gane has an opportunity here, and all he has to do is win. I like Cyril Gane here. Minus 365 is too much. We'll throw him in a parlay because the value, you'll still get money out of that. But this is a guy who will be better on the ground. He'll be the faster, better athlete. Striking-wise, his precision's fantastic, and he's in and out, and he uses his jab, and he does not engage in brawls, which you cannot do against Derek Lewis. So I do like Cyril Gane here to get the win.
All right, well, we're throwing up, as you're so eloquently describing this main event for Saturday night, our guy Cody has been throwing up different odds for different things in this main event. There's going to be people at home that just like to bet for fun, that really don't care about other than hitting a long shot. And we're here for those people. So give me something that you saw and say, you know what, this could happen. You're not saying to bet it, but for those who do want to, what do you got for it?
Look, if you want to take a long shot here, I think Cyril Gane by submission at plus 650 is the way to go. He'll be the better ground guy. Listen, and Derek Lewis jokes about being the best blue belt in the state of Texas, right? But Cyril Gane has actually won fights by submission, and he's so athletically, physically gifted that if he's on the ground and he gets it there in the first few minutes of the fight where Lewis is not sweaty and slippery, I don't think it's out of the question here. So if you want to sprinkle a little bit on something wild, to me, that's the one because it's not that crazy. He could get that arm triangle, which he's in love with. And if he does, plus 650 is a nice little payout for that, coach.
Yeah, we tell you all the time, if you're playing with house money by the time you get to the main event, it is fun to just throw on a little long shot. So we'll play that with you, depending on how the night goes. And I know we're going to have a bounce back night. All right, let's quickly get to the recap because we're coming up on our 20 minutes. And we want to get out of here, too, just like you do, and get back to your day. All right, in the early prelims, you love Johnny Munoz. Throw him in a parlay. The number's too high at minus 260. Lisa Gatto, straight, minus 120. Then Miles Johns, bantamweight, minus 210. Take that straight. Then Osborne, plus 165. We like the underdog here in this one. Too much pressure, too much value here at this number. Then in the prelim card, you like KK. Last 5, yes, she has lost. That's brought her number down. But this matchup, style-wise, perfect for her in getting it at minus 130. You're only laying 30 cents. Then we're going to go with another underdog, Ed Herman, the timeless Ed Herman, plus 200. Way too heavy on the cardio, the dirty boxing, all that kind of stuff. You think Minifield will get exposed in certain ways. Then Let's go to Rodriguez, minus 120, another good number that we can play straight. Then Rafael Fiziev, the main event of the prelim card. You like him to throw into a parlay as that minus 290. Way too much against Bobby Green. Then in our main card, we're going to go Casey Kenny, minus 120. Tisha Torres over Angela Hill. Michael Chiesa, he is the very slight underdog here. And you believe that could go in our favor even a little bit more than it already has. And then Pedro Munoz in the co-main event. You love the style here. And then our main event, you like Gane in a parlay. You also like the over 2.5 if you can get it at your sports book. And then if you just want to throw out a long shot, Gane by submission at plus 650. We will be active all day on Saturday on social media, so you can ask us any questions. But let's keep it positive. Remember, we're here to have fun. We're here, yes, to make a little bit of money, but only to win more than we lose. It's a difficult game, but if we do it together and we stay together and you listen to the experts, it can be a whole lot of fun and very profitable. All right, that's going to do it for our incredible producer, Cody Merrill. For Ian Parker, I am the coach. We're here every single week. Next week, a very special PFL playoff edition of Combat Coach, because we're here for you. All right, have a great week. Good luck, and we'll see you on Saturday night.